Hello everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects. Please subscribe now to get the latest ancient history news and independent research from around the world. We've all seen examples of Roman theatres, stadiums and amphitheatres, often circular or semicircular, being tiered constructions with seating so an audience can watch a spectacle, whether it's gladiators facing off,
My name is Gladiator.
a drama, dance or music, or maybe some athletic competition. But there is one example I've recently come across from the famous ancient city of Petra, and it really is something else. Petra wasn't the way that many people often portray, as a lost city with impossible ancient stonework dating back many thousands and thousands of years and discovered by a group of nomads called the Nabateans. It dates back to the 5th century BC. It was a rich cosmopolitan city located on a major trade route. It was a place that people wanted to go to and a place where people wanted to live. This culture that was called the Nabateans included bands of people from across the region. 30,000 people lived here, most of whom were immigrants. There were Egyptians, Syrians, Greeks, Romans and Judeans, who came to a region the Persians referred to as a paradise resort. It was a real cosmopolitan world where ideas and technologies blended together. We see this very clearly in the art of the city, and most of the examples have now been removed and sit within museums around the world. Structures from tombs to villas were cut into the sandstone bedrock, and that was to avoid damage from frequent earthquakes. They also had systems to trap rainwater and transport it around the city to transform this barren red land we see today into something bright green, beautiful and lush. It was only abandoned because of a change in the trade routes. It stopped being a commercial centre, and so, without economics, there was no reason for people to live here and struggle. People moved on. They followed the money. A key part of the city was Petra Theater, a major cultural and political landmark under Aretas IV, who reigned between 9 BC and 40 AD, when Petra was a client state of the Roman Empire. Under his rule, and no doubt dictated by the Romans, Petra underwent large-scale construction projects, and this theatre is an incredible example of this work.
What have the Romans ever done for us?
The theatre?
Shut up!
Although it does look Roman in style and design, the Nabateans certainly built their Roman theatre in the Nabatean way, carving it straight from the bedrock with distinct floral capitals designed into it. In 106 AD, the Nabatean kingdom lost its independence and the Romans annexed the city, and in doing so, they refurbished many of the public buildings including the theatre. They rebuilt the stage wall, extended the orchestra's floor level, and some say they even doubled the amount of seating. The theatre itself is located 600 metres from the centre of Petra, cut into the side of a mountain, at the foot of what is known as the High Place of Sacrifice. It consists of an auditorium with a semicircular orchestra. There are 3 horizontal sections or seating areas, separated by passageways, and there are also 7 staircases. When full, the venue could seat approximately 8,500 people. Like with Roman examples, it also had superb acoustic properties. There was a stage, podium and side doors, just like with many modern-day entertainment venues. Although we don't know exactly what it was used for, we can hazard a guess that it was used for entertainment, public meetings and maybe religious purposes as well. Some say that pilgrims may have stopped here to conduct certain rituals, but there really isn't any evidence. As stated, it was carved out of the solid red sandstone bedrock, and in forming the back wall, a whole street of famous Petra facades were wiped out. This is seen by these large gaping holes, which are actually the interior of tombs that were destroyed to make way for the theatre. To the left we can see the older tombs that still have their facades intact. Cutting the seating would have been a painstaking and difficult job for the builders, and just like with other examples of rock cut structures at Petra, those that worked on the theatre did a near perfect job. What we see today are the archaeological remains, but it would have looked somewhat different in its heyday. For example, we know the stage backdrop was demolished by a large earthquake in the 4th century AD. The stage area has since been reconstructed. Now there is a lot of controversy around Petra on the internet, and if you watch videos on YouTube about this incredible lost city, many presenters and commenters state their belief that this city is far more ancient than we are told. Some even believe it's pre-Younger Dryas, but I have to say, although we can't specifically date stone, there are a number of misconceptions in the public domain that people draw upon. So I'd just like to clear this up. It really isn't that hard to find very detailed geological and archaeological reports on Petra, yet these are often totally overlooked. For a start, Petra is cut from red sandstone. It's not quartzite as some say, and even though in places this sandstone can be harder than your average sedimentary rock, mainly due to the ferrous-rich matrix between the sand grains, it's certainly easier to carve than quartzite. So, this theatre is certainly not outside of the known capabilities of the Nabateans, especially when it became a client state of the Romans. I've also noted that some people have said to look at the weathering on the seating area, which apparently means it must have been exposed for many thousands of years. But again, a quick Google search can bring up a paper called Analysis of Sandstone Weathering of the Roman Theatre in Petra, Jordan. It took me just 30 seconds to find this. It looks the way it looks because the matrix between the sand grains is varied. The chemistry includes iron, aluminium, calcium and silica. Areas of the rock rich in iron still look somewhat fresh. You can still see the original stonemason's marks. But the areas low in iron look far more weathered, and this comes from various processes, including such things as daily temperature changes and sunlight exposure on the rock, from midday to midnight. This does break down the sedimentary rock. The weathering at the theatre, in fact across the whole of Petra, is evidence in itself that the whole site is correctly dated. You can even see the natural patina on the rock, on the cut faces, which occurs naturally and is a very good indication of age. Petra as a site clearly has a Greco-Roman influence in design and style. The rate of weathering is perfectly in line with the Nabatean origin, and all of the archaeological finds back up the dating. So that's science, archaeology and art history together, all pointing to Petra having a Nabatean origin, clearly with a strong Greco-Roman influence. After reading about all of this, I next read the 1964 excavation report of the theatre. The amount of detail is fascinating. For example, large walls surrounded it, preventing gatecrashers from entering. There are two main entrances, one at each side. There was a complex water control system that was cut into the upper gallery to convey rainwater away from the heart of the theatre during the 3 wetter months of the year. There were even 2 so-called royal boxes built above the main entrances, and these overlooked the stage platform, clearly earmarked for royalty and important guests. There are prime examples of trademark Roman cement in the theatre's vaults, which contains datable fragments of old broken pottery. Inscriptions were also found, including the word theatre that was written in large Greek letters. Column drums were also found and were marked with Nabatean letters, makers' marks to aid the people that put the columns together. These marks were only seen because the columns fell after a huge earthquake ripped through Petra many hundreds of years ago. There is so much I could talk about, so much more detail I could go into, but for this video I just wanted to give an overview. This is a Nabatean created, Greco-Roman inspired site of excellence, and something we should all know about. Petra was once a bustling city, and just like many Greco-Roman cities of the day, it too had its own theatre. But in true Nabatean style, it wasn't a mere building project. No, they cut theirs out of a mountain, arguably surpassing the work of the Romans. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Ancient Architects. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, please like the video, and please leave a comment below. Thank you very much.